Welcome to History and Mysteries. I'm your host, Regina Helton. If you are new to the podcast, History and Mysteries is a podcast where we talk about Southern tales, we is me, where we talk about Southern tales, Midwest mysteries, and listener-submitted stories. Some of these stories will be from my family collection of stories, and others are stories that I've researched. Each week we'll dive into a new episode, and hopefully you enjoy them. If you want to support the podcast, stick around after the episode, and there's some information on how to do that. Thanks. Hello, and welcome back to History and Mysteries. This is season 2 of the podcast, and this is my announcement episode, so let's take it from the top. Welcome to History and Mysteries. I'm your host, Regina Helton, and we're kicking off season 2 with a little bit of an announcement, update, just news basically about what's new over here on the podcast. So let's take it from the top. So I started the podcast back in January of 2021 and ended up doing 10 episodes and then took a long break because podcasting is not that easy, and I needed to take some time to research it, get some better equipment, and also just focus on some life changes and my real full-time job. But podcasting is a hobby, but it is a hobby that's important to me, and I'm going to tell you why. So it's more than just podcasting. It's storytelling, right? So I love to tell ghost stories. Anyone that knows me knows that I love to hear a good ghost story and tell a good ghost story. But it's a little bit deeper than that. So this podcast started off in January 2021 as a passion project. I wanted to basically just keep some stories in my family alive that have been passed down, over the years, and basically give, I don't know if tribute is the right word, but give some love to those stories and the people who told them in my family. So it was much more than ghost stories. It was very much a heartfelt project where I wanted anyone who was listening, if they were alive and when heard their story being told, that they would feel like they were being, lifted up in a way. But also, as time marches on, we all know people come and go. People are born and people pass away. And I wanted each generation to have stories documented. And I also just wanted to keep people the memory of some people alive through storytelling. So last summer, my mom passed away. And season 1 had a lot of stories from her collection of ghost stories. And with her loss has been a great realization that I didn't do that great of a job documenting or even listening sometimes to who she was as a person. And I have a lot of regret about that. And I want to make sure that I don't make that mistake again moving forward. I want to keep the people I love alive, even long after they're gone. And it's been really hard losing her, but she has more stories to be told from my memory, and I'm sure I can get with my dad, and he'll know some too. So in season 2, we're going to have some more stories from her collection, but moving forward, I'm just going to keep telling family stories until I run out. So season 2 is going to be a lot of stories from my dad's side of the family, but eventually I'm going to run out of family stories. So when that happens, I'm hoping to be a much more skilled podcaster, and I will get into some researched stories and also maybe some user submitted, or I don't know why I said user, but listener submitted stories. I think that would be really fun if someone sends me a story and I get to tell it. Yeah, so let's talk about, I'm kind of just doing this on the fly, so to speak. I don't really have everything I want planned. out to say in this episode, so we're going to skip around a little bit. But anyway, let's talk about how you can support the podcast, because of course I want to reach people with it. So one of the ways that you can support the podcast is by going to historyandmysteries.com, and that is where all of the episodes live at. That is our podcast host, and you can listen to all the episodes as many times as you want there, and you can also share them. So if there's anyone that you know that you think, man, they would like this podcast, send it to them. I would love for you to just share it as much as you want. Word of mouth is powerful, and I'm beyond appreciative if you are listening, and also if you share. Another way that you can support the podcast is if you head on over to History and Mysteries, you'll see a support button. And for $3, starting at $3 a month, you can make a donation to the podcast. And I would appreciate that too, because like I said, this is a hobby, and any donation is going to help me to improve the quality, get better equipment, learn more, maybe hire someone to edit. In the last season, my brother did a lot of that, but Russell, if you're listening, he could step back in here and help me. So anyway, yeah, please, if you show your support in any of those ways, it's a huge thank you from me to you. Just know that this is a small podcast. I'm a one-person podcast, and I see that support, and it means so much to me. I get so excited as I check off the milestones of, how many listeners I've had, and it's so rewarding. Also, if you want to follow along on Instagram, the username is History and Mysteries. And also, I do tell some of the ghost stories on TikTok under my personal channel. It's just Regina.knows. And you can listen to me do some sort of short video stories over there. I'm not as active as I want to be, but hopefully I'll pick that up and get a little bit more active soon. So let's go ahead and talk about what to expect in season 2, okay? So season 2 is going to be some more of my mom's stories, and also some of my dad's stories mixed in, and then a couple from my grandmother. And I have the list laid out, but I don't have them in order yet of how they're going to come out, but there's a couple of these that I'm really excited about. So let's go over those really quick. So this season's going to have 10 episodes plus this one. That'll be 11. And one of them is this scary story that my dad tells. And it is about some noises in an attic. I can't tell you much more because it'll give it away, but it is so scary. He's told this story my whole life. He barely changes a detail, so it has to be true. And I cannot wait to cover that one. I might make that one the season finale because it probably could be 2 episodes. Also, I'm going to revisit a story from my mom. It's called The Lady at the Lake. I also told that one on TikTok if you want to head over there and listen, but I'll go into better detail on the podcast. Another one is about a ghost train. Another one is about a man who could stop a clock. One of them is an angry spirit. This is another one of my dad's, which could maybe be a season finale episode. It's a very scary one, and if you can visualize it in your mind when I tell you it, it's so scary. Another one is called A Dark Rainy Night. Another is called Don't Drive at Night. The Ghost Cat, and then another amazing story from my grandma's collection. It's called It Knew My Name, and it's another one that is just, it gives me goosebumps. I just got full goosebumps head to toe because it's so rooted in Appalachian history and belief, and I don't want to use the word folklore. Is that the right word? No one roast me. But yeah, it's so rooted in that. And actually I'm on the Appalachian side of TikTok right now, storytelling. And there are 2 stories. The one that I'm going to title It Knew My Name, and then the one from last season that was called A Voice in the Night, that I had no idea. I've heard these stories my whole life. One of them was from my brother, and the It Knew My Name is my brother's story. Hold on, I just got excited and got all crazy. A Voice in the Night is my brother's story, and Then It Knew My Name is my grandmother's story. And it's two stories about, we'll say, a spirit using a name, and these both happened in Appalachia, so it's rooted in that Appalachian folklore or, storytelling that if you hear something say your name, you do not respond to it. And it gives me goosebumps head to toe because it's so interesting to tell a story and then not realize when you are telling it that it's actually based on other experiences of people. Like, that's sort of the way it goes in ghost storytelling world. Like, we've all heard of like a ghost on the side of the road, and some of them are very similar. They share a lot of similarities, but this one's actually rooted in a lot of experiences with hearing your name in the mountains. So, super scary. I might actually revisit those two stories and at some point in the future and just elaborate more on like Appalachian like stories and beliefs and experiences that people have had. So yeah, super, super scary stuff. I'm so excited to dig into season 2. And also, I want to keep the podcast just very approachable. I want it to be like me and you sitting in a room telling a story. So forgive me not editing out bloopers or anything like that. I wanted this just to be casual conversation, right? Just some friends sitting around telling ghost stories. And also, pardon my ability to not say Appalachia today. Appalachian. Struggling. Anyway, it happened in the mountains, okay? So, season 2 is going to be so fun. And then I think I will base season 3 around some more research-based topics instead of ghost stories from my family. But either way, I've got so many stories to tell. I can't wait to keep telling them. And this podcast is so much more than just storytelling. Like I said, it's about keeping family alive, keeping family stories alive, keeping just the art of storytelling alive, and giving love to the memory of those who are no longer with us. Last season, I had my brother with me editing. This season, it's just me. So I will do my best to get an episode up every week, but I also thought about just recording them all at once and putting them up and letting you guys just like binge a whole season. But we'll see. This is, like I said, a hobby, so I'm doing it around my full-time work, but it is a hobby that I'm passionate about, and it's a hobby that I want to make sure that it gets the time that it deserves, because I think that there's so many of us out here who just enjoy a good story, and especially a good scary story, that I don't want to disappear for a year again. So hopefully if you are listening to this, you're a return listener, and if you're not and you're a new listener, I can't tell you how much it means. Every time I see those numbers go up on the podcast, I just cannot believe that someone, wants to take their time and listen to me tell a story. It's humbling, and it doesn't matter, how many listeners I have. Of course, I want to reach a whole bunch, but I wouldn't care if I had 5 or 500,000. It's not about the numbers. It's just about just reaching people and knowing that support has happened no matter how big or small it is. I'm just so appreciative. I also like to be super transparent. So last season's podcast reach, let's go take a look really quick together. So last season, I shouldn't say last season since it's been, forever ago. But we'll say season 1. Season 1 reached 13,000 downloads, which I was just like, what? Wow. Like, that's more people than I ever thought were going to listen. And that might be small numbers to some people, but to me, it means the world. Like, that first season was so much of me just learning how to podcast, becoming confident in my voice to let it be out there for people to listen to. And my brother editing and learning on his own. We both had no experience with podcasting. My brother is pretty musically gifted, but he didn't have any experience with podcasting, and I didn't either. So it was definitely a labor and of love and a learning lesson for the both of us. And oh my gosh, some of the funniest things happened. So if you, let's just go back and talk a little bit about season 1 really quick. And if you've made it this far into this unorganized episode, thank you so much. Like I said, I wanted this to be like a chit chat between friends. So season 1, the audio isn't the greatest. It's kind of embarrassing in some points when I go back and listen to it. But some of those noise effects and sound effects that you hear, those are sounds that my brother worked incredibly hard to capture in real life. So, for example, there are, I don't remember the episode off the top of my head, but there's an episode where I talk about a doorknob jiggling, and in the background you can hear that, and that's my brother and my sister-in-law jiggling a doorknob for sound effect. And there's one where he was in the middle of editing the podcast, and an ambulance or a fire truck or something went by, and it just perfectly aligned with the story. Another one, there's some noise of like running up and down stairs or something like that. My sister-in-law is actually physically running up and down a staircase. There's another one where there's like a xylophone kind of noise. That's my brother actually playing an instrument to get the noise. I shouldn't say noise, that sounds insulting, but the sound. They worked incredibly hard to make real sounds to sort of, illustrate this podcast in sound. And we laugh so hard over some of this. So I've heard of a lot of podcasters going back and like redoing episodes and stuff because maybe they're sort of embarrassed and sort of like I am about some of the bad audio on some of these. And even this season's not going to be great because I'm still learning. Hopefully it's an improvement from season 1. But so much love went into those episodes that I don't even care if some of them are scratchy or the sound quality kind of sucks, because that was just good times, good memories, and the support of my brother and my sister-in-law, which I could almost cry over. Just I think we live in a society where so much input is put on, our emphasis is put on perfection. You have to reach the most people that you can reach, and you have to put out the best of the best of the best. But I'm a firm believer in just starting somewhere and starting where you are and starting with the tools that you have. And that's what we did. We started with what we had, which was my sister-in-law on foot making noises, and my brother, editing with just the skill set he had, and me recording with just a lapel mic because I wanted to get started, and that's what I had. So there's beauty in just starting where you are. But anyway, I hope that season 2 is at least the audio improves. But yeah, I got lost on what I was saying because I just was spending so much time emphasizing, some of those fun points of season 1. So I don't think my brother's going to be able to help edit this season, so I don't anticipate having so much creativity in the noise, but it's okay. We'll just let the stories speak on their own. We'll let the stories tell the stories. So I am thrilled. There's one last thing I'll tell you about that I probably should do an episode on. So I don't know. If I have some time, maybe I'll do a bonus episode. But during one of those season 1 editing sessions, we actually got what we think is an EVP. And let me back up just a little bit and say, I am not really here for that. Like, I want to tell ghost stories and I want to reach people through, storytelling and keep my family members alive in storytelling. But I do not want to talk to ghosts, okay? Like, if there's any ghosts listening, no. Keep your opinion to yourself. Like, I don't want to interact with ghosts. I just like scary stories. But One day I was recording, and I can tell you what episode. Let me head back over to my episode list and I'll tell you. It was A Lady on the Road, which went up on January 11th, 2021. I was in the middle of telling that story when I had something happen. You know what? I'm just going to have to put it in an episode now that I'm sitting here talking about it because it'll take me another 10 minutes. But a quick summary is the recording of that episode got interrupted by an event that didn't really make sense. I dare label it paranormal, but it was definitely odd. And I had another odd experience after that in the same day. And then I ended up recording it in 2 parts. Well, when my brother was editing it, he's pretty sure that he, and I have the audio clip that I can put into an episode of an EVP, which if what I'm hearing is what I'm hearing in what we think is an EVP, which is electronic voice phenomenon, if you don't know that, it perfectly aligns with what happened that day. So I know this is all very like choppy and all over the place and like doesn't make sense, but I should probably turn it into a bonus episode for you guys and let you hear it because it was really creepy, and this is not like clickbait. I don't believe in clickbait crap. I'm just here to tell you the truth, and maybe I could just tell the story and let you guys decide if it was real or not. I might even just put it up on TikTok, and if it's not enough to make a full podcast episode with, but it was definitely an odd experience and definitely a piece of the audio that sounds like a voice for sure. So, some creepy stuff, right? So anyway, let me wrap up this episode with just a quick recap. You can expect at least 11 episodes. That's including this one. So 10 ghost stories and this one. And if I'm feeling good, maybe a bonus episode about the scary story I was just talking about, or maybe just a bonus episode in general. I'll do my best, but at least 10 ghost stories. I haven't decided if I'm going to binge put them all up at once or if I'm going to do them once a week. It's probably going to be once a week just because of time limitations. I'm also going to work on having longer episodes this time because I want more context into these stories. And I just want to spend some more time like having sort of a chit-chatty conversation with the listeners instead of it just being like straight storytelling. So hopefully that's okay and you guys enjoy it. So 10 good stories, a little bit longer episodes, and hopefully improved sound quality this time around. We'll find out. So expect a story next week. It's been fun. Thank you for everyone who supported season 1. Please tell a friend. Please come back and listen this time. And as these seasons keep happening, they'll get better. I promise. Thank you so much for your support thus far. And thank you for listening to this rambling announcement. I am your host, Regina Helton. Thank you for listening to History and Mysteries. I'll see you next week. I'd like to take a moment and thank you for listening to today's episode. If you are enjoying the History and Mysteries podcast, which I really truly hope you are, there are multiple ways for you to show your support of the show. You can go to the website, historyandmysteries.com. This is where all the episodes live at, and you can listen to them as many times as you want, or share them with a friend. Word of mouth is powerful, and if there's anyone that you know who you think would enjoy the stories being told, please spread the word. Also, while you're on the History and Mysteries website, historyandmysteries.com, you'll also see a button that will allow you to make a donation to the show starting at $3 a month. This is another way for you to show your support, and any donation helps to improve the quality of the show, so I would truly appreciate that. If you want to follow along on Instagram, you can head on over to History and Mysteries, that's the username, and you can stay in touch there. Once again, thank you for listening to the show, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.